Welcome to NFM Market Perspectives.
Monday, setup, Trump tariff thaw, rare earth relief, and big earnings week S&P 500 pre-market snapshot. Tone is constructive but selective. Internet, retail, and autos are bid with Amazon and Tesla green. Semis are mixed after last week's squeeze, with Nvidia flat and Broadcom softer. Software is two-way, Oracle firmer while Microsoft is red. Financials lean positive on the money center banks. Takeaway, leadership is tilting back to mega-cap consumer tech while semis and software digest. Tariffs and policy, what changed and why it matters. The White House released a weekend fact sheet expanding the Trump-Xi deal. China will suspend the newest rare earth export controls and end probes into U.S. chip firms. Washington will pause parts of the reciprocal tariff regime for another year and shelve the planned 100% blanket tariff. The fentanyl-related duty drops to 10% from 20%, taking the average China tariff burden toward 47% from 57%. Beijing will resume large purchases of U.S. soybeans and step up U.S. energy buying, with an Alaska oil and gas transaction hinted. The U.S. will mediate talks between Beijing and Nvidia about access to restricted chips, though Blackwell accelerators are not part of the discussion. Risk red, relief for chip supply chains and materials, plus breathing room for U.S. importers. Offsetting noise persists around Canada, where talks remain on ice and a 10% threat still hangs. The Supreme Court hears challenges to the reciprocal tariffs this week, a headline risk that could swing import-heavy retailers and hardware. Macro calendar, the releases that can flip the tape Sunday night. China Cation Manufacturing printed 50.7, a touch softer than 51.2 prior, but still in expansion. Monday, Eurozone and UK manufacturing PMIs sit near the 50 line. U.S. manufacturing holds near 49.2 with prices at 62.6, keeping services inflation in focus. BOC Governor Macklem speaks later. Tuesday, ECB President Lagarde speaks twice. U.S. trade balance, factory orders, JOLTS openings, and API crude in the evening. China Cation Services 52.6 expected. Wednesday, Eurozone and UK services PMIs, US ADP 28,000 expected. ISM services 51.0 with prices watched, EIA crude and Cushing. Thursday, Bank of England decision with the rate at 4.00% and a likely 8-to-1 hold on the committee. U.S. productivity and unit labor costs, multiple Fed speakers, Canada IVPMI, and Mexico's policy decision at 7.50%. Friday, Canada jobs, Michigan sentiment and inflation expectations, New York Fed inflation survey. China trade late in the session, and CPI and PPI on Saturday. What matters? Steady services, growth with sticky price components would keep the Fed cautious. A softer ISM prices mix plus benign labor costs would support risk. Earnings to watch Monday. Berkshire Hathaway, Palantir, Vertex, Williams, Canadian Natural, Simon Property, Realty Income, IDXX. Tuesday, AMD, Shopify, Uber, Arista, Amgen, Eaton, Pfizer, Spotify, Nintendo, Mitsubishi, BP. WED, Toyota, Novo Nordisk, AppLovin, McDonald's, Qualcomm, ARM, Robinhood, DoorDash, McKesson. Thursday, AstraZeneca, DBS Group, ConocoPhillips, Parker Hannifin, Airbnb, Petrobras, Fry, MOL, Constellation Energy, KKR, Enbridge, Duke Energy, Constellation Software, Honda, Amadeus, IAG, TELUS. Angle, chips and networks on Tuesday night set the tone for AI infrastructure, while Qualcomm and ARM on Wednesday refine the handset and edge picture. Energy and industrial prints later in the week test the soft landing narrative. IPOs this week, Beta Technologies and Aeromexico open the week on the New York Stock Exchange. XCO follows Thursday. Friday brings a small-cap NASDAQ cluster, DT House, Crown Reserve Acquisition, Park Dental Partners, and Billion Tuan, plus Evamune on the new ASI. Watch allocation quality and day 2 liquidity for a read on risk appetite. Futures and commodities. U.S. indices are green into the open. WTI near 61 and Brent near 65, reflect calmer geopolitics. Natural gas firm. Gold hovers around 4,013, while silver is just under 48. The 10-year note price is steady. The dollar index edges higher. Bitcoin holds near 110,000 after last week's spike. Bonus charts. One ETF and two prints QQQ 5-minute Ichimoku shows price retesting the cloud after a late Friday dip. MACD is turning up from flat. Levels 629 to 631 as first resistance near the cloud top, 628 as pivot support. Read, constructive above the cloud with earnings as the catalyst. Palantir price is coiling around 200 with a thin cloud. MACD is neutral and ready to break. Levels 199 to 200 support, 201 to 202 first resistance. Setup. A clean beat and durable margin guide could push a post-print trend day. AMD tape sits just under a flattening cloud ahead of Tuesday's numbers. May CD is slightly negative but improving. Levels 255 to 256 support, 258 to 259 resistance. Focus. Data center GPU mix and 2026 AI roadmap color. Game plan. Keep positioning balanced into Tuesday-Thursday catalysts. Use Tariff Truce strength to scale into quality semis on dips, not into spikes. For traders, lean on cloud levels in QQQ and your two earnings names to define risk. For investors, treat any post-print volatility in AMD or Palantir as an entry if guidance confirms multi-quarter AI demand.
Thanks for watching. If you found this valuable, hit subscribe and share this with others. See you next time on Anna from Market Perspectives.